We are talking the 13th Friday. This movie will either scare you into Saturday or leaving you feeling like the Monday blues. This one written and directed by Justin Price, who is the man behind the movie Alien: Reign of Man, of which I reviewed quite recently on the channel. So here he is with a horror movie. Now, with a title like that, let's address the elephant in the room here. It's clearly going for maybe a Friday the 13th kind of attention seek there. Just the kind of, obviously the words shuffled around in a slightly different order. But I've got to say, it probably has more in common with the likes of Hellraiser meets kind of J-horror, I would say. The story here, I'm going to be honest with you right up at the front, is incoherent. The plot follows this kind of group of young adults as they decide to go into this kind of like this very famed haunted house, and whilst they kind of witness a paranormal event, and they are essentially cursed to kind of make a sacrifice, and there's this sort of puzzle box, this paranormal puzzle box that's involved, and they essentially have to nominate essentially a sacrificial lamb. And it essentially follows the story of this woman who is this one who's been nominated, trying to get out of it, and obviously this causes the rest of them to pay the ultimate price. So let's discuss the 13th Friday. Very low budget film. Justin Price has actually been quite prolific. He's actually got a fairly large filmography, but they all tend to be very kind of low budget films. And I'll be honest, from what I've seen from him so far, he has definitely got a visual flair, but storytelling is not the paramount skill, shall we say. This movie's main criticism is its incoherent plot. It just doesn't make sense. You just seem to flip between one scene and another without any kind of through narrative, kind of telling you what's going on or kind of taking you through this story. It just seems to flip-flop with different kind of horror scenes and situations. You have no idea what the hell is going on. I mean, as the filmmakers, I'm assuming they obviously are aware of the plot and understand what their vision is, but when you are watching it as an audience member, you wouldn't have a Scooby about what's going on. I mean, as the film progresses, you can kind of pick up bits, but as you're watching it initially, the first 15 minutes are unintelligible. I'm just going to say it. And the other thing as well is some of the direction here, I've got to say, is a little weak. For example, we have a scene at the beginning of the film where these kind of group of cast enter this kind of house, and they see a horrific this possession happening right in front of them, and their reactions are literally they kind of look indifferent. I mean, they're not scared at all, or at least they don't appear to be. Now, I don't blame the actors on that one, because they're all doing it, so it's clearly a direction that they kind of were shown here. And I've got to say, I mean, it's just silly. I mean, the actual visuals, I've got to be honest with you, are pretty well done. It's a pretty horrifying visual and pretty decent special effects. And then you see the cast's reaction to it, and you're thinking, oh, is this going to be some kind of like prank that someone's putting? That's why they're not acting like that freaked out. But no, it's a real thing. So as we go through the movie, we'll see kind of flashes of different horror. I suspect, and I don't know this for sure, I'm only speculating here, that this seems like it's got scenes from other films in it, because you just go into these kind of random cave scenes with these cave monsters in it, then there's this kind of little girl who looks like she's burnt, kind of following everyone around. Now it almost feels like they've kind of shot scenes or taken scenes from previous movies, like the good old Roger Corman days basically, and kind of whacked them in this movie. So it's a little jarring, I must say. The performances as well, I've got to say, aren't the strongest. I did like the female lead, which I'll come on to the positives, but for the most part, I would say that the performances are all pretty flat here. But let's talk about the positives. Like I've said, Lisa May plays the main protagonist, although she is off screen for long periods of time in this movie, which I found a little odd. But she actually does a pretty decent job here, considering the material of kind of acting like this very weighted down kind of character who has obviously got this kind of the burden. So I think her acting is probably a step above the majority of actors here. You do have a lot of returning cast from the movie Alien: Reign of Man. A character called Ku, who was in that, although her part seems to be very peripheral to the actual main plot, I've got to say. She's like this reporter who's following him around that doesn't really ever seem to go anywhere, I'll be honest. So yeah, the acting from her was okay. Now the biggest thing I would say, the biggest positive I would say with this film is there are some fantastic visuals. Just like Alien Reign of Man, Justin Price proves he has got an eye for cinematography and what makes a great shot. And it's true of this movie as well. There's some fantastic, low budget, admittedly, but great imagery here of different kind of supernatural things that happen on screen. And I've got to say, they look pretty good for the most part. I don't know why they're using these CGI spiders in some shots that don't seem to have any relevance. Get rid of them, because they don't really make any sense. And that does seem, why have them just randomly crawling over people? But anyway, I'm digressing. However, like I said, there are some pretty decent shots here. We do get a nice variety of different kind of like, you know, creature effects and kind of different monstrosities on screen. So we have a spider's web of monsters in this movie, essentially, it makes visually it's very, very interesting. And I say that I kind of like the female lead here. I thought she was, made quite an engaging character, but the story here is just unintelligible. I mean, it kind of gets a little bit more straight towards the sort of the second act, I suppose, but then it ends in a really abrupt manner as well. So overall, visually it's very interesting, this film, but I just don't think it's a very good story. So I think Justin Price maybe needs to do work on someone else's writing, perhaps, rather than his own, because I can see some of the cinematography and the technical side of stuff is okay, but the actual storytelling and the narrative is very poor. So I'm going to give this movie a 4 out of 10, because you just kind of lose interest, because you just don't know what the hell's going on. But visually it has some good imagery there. So 4 out of 10 for me. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.